Hey out there, it's Wakeangel2K1 bringing you another personal project. This one is Falco Lombardi from the Star Fox series. But first, a little bit of a primer on how to make a universal joint 101. Alright, so your typical universal joint has two parts. One is a pin disc, represented here by that circular looking thing, and the second is a crossbar. The important part of how the joint works is how you connect it to, the body. In the case of a hip, this little bent line represents your figure's crotch. The best way to put it is this way, with the disc going horizontally into the crotch. That way, twisting that point will make the leg go forward and backward, and then you can go in and out with the pin that goes through it. An alternate way to attach it is to put it in vertically like this. This way it can still go forward and backward, and by twisting you can still go outwards. This isn't quite as ideal since you wouldn't be able to do a leg splay quite as naturally, but if, for example, the character's crotch is too narrow to put the pins in horizontally, this could be a good backup. Bad way to do it is to put it in vertically like this, with the leg sculpted so that the disc is facing forward like that. This will mean that the leg's default motion will be outwards rather than forwards, so your character wouldn't be able to do something simple like sitting down or assuming a walking pose. Now, sometimes new toy companies make this mistake when they're making heavily articulated figures. I did not expect Hasbro to be guilty of this, however. Yes, that's what they did with the Luke Skywalker figure. They attached the pin disc into his hips in such a way that his legs go outwards rather than forwards. I don't know what they were thinking. So, of course, that's something that I had to correct in this figure. Alright, let's get into how I turned this into Falco now. This is what Luke Skywalker looks like when you dismantle everything that you can dismantle on him. His arms look really weird. I appreciate that they gave him double-jointed elbows because it would help with holding his lightsaber for two-handed poses and stuff. But the way the joints are, they just look really weird. They look more like knee joints and elbow joints, and his arms are just too skinny for them. They just look strange on there. Plus, the way his pants are sculpted, his knees have almost no clearance. You can barely get 30 degrees of bend out of them. And like I said, his hip joints are just terribly constructed, so you can't even have him stepping forward. So, the first thing I had to do was mod those legs. I cut some material away so I could get more bend out of the knees. They can actually reach near 90 degrees now. And I reattached them into the hips in such a way that they face forward. Again, this is trimming material around the knees because before you couldn't really do it. I also gave him some new feet. As you can see, Luke has tiny little slippers on, but Falco wears huge-ass boots. So what I did was I took the boots from an Eli figure, from Slugterra, and attached them. I used my Dremel to make that little semicircle and then drilled a hole in it. Once reattached, the figure can stand much more naturally. And, of course, it's all painted up. Yes, these are pictures of a completed Falco figure because I forgot to take pictures of the legs after I painted them but before I reattached them, but you're going to have to wait until the end of the video to see him completely built. The arm, as you can see, I made a hand. Luke Skywalker's hand is under there, but Falco's little feather fingers are now over them. And I sculpted on the sleeve, which actually makes this arm look a lot better. If this wasn't a bare-armed Luke Skywalker, this joint setup would have actually looked pretty good. So the benefit of this cool double-jointed elbow is now reaching its full potential, in that I have a Falco arm, which is very flexible and can take on poses that we see him do in the games, and we don't have to worry about the arm looking all weird and segmented when it's bent because there's a sleeve over it. That means we move on to the head now. The head was a multi-tiered idea. Luke Skywalker's head is underneath there just so it can attach to the ball joint. But first, this Rocketeer-looking thing is the base. Once that hardened, I put on a few more details, namely his feather frond that goes around the back of his head and his brow ridges. Once that had a chance to harden, you put on more details, his beak and that thing that goes around the back of his head. I don't really think you'd call it a helmet, but it's what his communications attached to. The communicators are made out of wires. There's the little microphone that he speaks into, plus that little scouter-looking thing, which I'm pretty sure provides a heads-up display on the battlefield. And then it's, painted. He's blue, red. It's very primary, but it works for a cartoon Falcon man. The tail is probably the simplest part. It's just a Jet the Hawk tail that I cut off and attached to Luke Skywalker's pants. And, painted. No big deal here. That just leaves the torso then. I had to sculpt the jacket on. He has like this little rumple scarf thing that goes on the chest, and then a jacket that goes around. I used the Star Fox amiibo to get a feel for how the jacket's supposed to look, in addition to the 3D model of Falco's trophy from the 3DS version of the game, just in case there were any slight variants. So, he has like a pocket pouch on the left side, and this armor thing that goes on the back. Now, when you paint it, those armor things are silver, and the his shirt is red, and I made sure to put that little Star Fox emblem on the back. Although it's painted so small, the detail's really kind of lost. Alright, so that's the last part. Let's put Falco together and see what he looks like. Oh wait, there's one more thing. And that's the reflector. Yes, I sculpted the little reflector, and it's actually a removable accessory that clips to Luke's belt, and... Okay, you're probably not interested in this stupid little thing. You'll see it all painted up when it's attached to the figure, which I'm going to show you now. So here is the completed Falco. Thanks to the original Luke Skywalker's articulation, which is fully represented here, he has everything, that Luke Skywalker did. Yeah, I love this thing. This thing looks great. He's about the same height as the World of Nintendo Link figure, just a tiny bit shorter, which I think is a good height for a Star Fox character. You gotta remember that Star Fox characters aren't like Sonic characters. They're not proportioned like Mickey Mouse. They're proportioned more like just regular people with animal heads. This is more like the Thundercats or the SWAT Cats, something like that. So yeah, like the knee bends aren't quite as deep as I'd like. Like they only go around 90, but I'm loving how the arms are able to move so deep. And he can take on some cool poses that really do suit Falco. So yeah, that's the Falco figure. Stay tuned next time when I make something else. This is Wakeangel2K1 signing off.